Hola, mi amigos. We're here today on the Sayulita beach in Mexico. It's a beautiful evening. Hopefully you can hear me over these very powerful waves. Today we're doing a class focusing on the posterior chain, so it'll be the hips and hamstrings today. We're going to begin in child's pose. So go ahead and set your hips back down onto your heels. Outstretch your arms in front of you. Rest your forehead on a block or the mat. Just begin to notice your breath. The natural inhales and exhales as they come in and out of your nose. Just paying attention to the depth of your breath. Does it tend to hang out in the upper compartment of your lungs or all the way down to the very lower compartments? As you bring your attention to your breathing, can you draw some deeper breaths in, creating a sense of spaciousness all the way across the diaphragm, down to the low belly, the low back. Sending breath across both the front and the back rib cage. Beginning to attune your awareness to both internal and external sensations within and around you. You can tilt your chin up, walk both hands over to the left, option to stack one palm on top of the other, and then just begin to rest the forehead down between the biceps. If you'd like a deeper stretch across your lats, you can actually rotate your right armpit a little closer towards the earth. And send a couple of deep breaths across the right side. We have this great imagery of waves here today. I like to imagine the breath is like a wave. Each inhale, this wave washes up and over your body. And every exhale, the wave pulls back down over your body into the ocean. And you can tilt your head up and walk your hands now over to the right. Once again, option to draw the left armpit a little closer to the mat. Finding some length through the underarm, the lats, and the intercostal muscles that weave in and out of your rib cage. And tilt the head up and walk your hands back through center. You're gonna lift your hips up and then send your arms farther forward. Knees are underneath your hips. Forehead once again comes down to the mat or a block. Think about scooping your sit bones up a little higher towards the earth and just sending some deep breath across the front body. And then go ahead and walk your hands back towards your knees. And with your toes tucked under, option to untuck them if it begins to get a little bit intense. But starting with your toes tucked under, keep the right palm rooted down. Go ahead and bring your left hand towards the back of the head. So like you have headlights on your hips, keep them facing forward. You're gonna inhale, open from the belly button up. And as you exhale, draw the left elbow down towards the right. Inhale to open, moving with breath. And exhale, elbow to the right elbow or the earth. Inhale to open up, keep the pelvis stable. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Do that one more time. Deep breath in. And exhale. Release your left hand down and we'll switch. Right hand comes to the back of the head. Headlights of your hips are pointing forward. Take an inhale to open from the belly button up, finding these thoracic spine rotations. And as you exhale, tap the elbow down or towards the left. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, tap down. 3 more. Inhale. And exhale. Breathe in. And out. And one more time, inhale. come to a tabletop posture. Stack the shoulders over the wrists and the knees underneath the hips. So turn the hands so that the fingers are pointing to the long edge of the mat. And with the weight of your shoulders over your wrist, rock side to side. Waking up all those muscles, and just exposing the wrist joints to a little bit of movement. And come back to neutral. From here, you're going to start to see if you can tuck your toes under, send your hips back, keep your elbows locked, and then pull the fingernails towards you. So don't let the elbows bend. We actually want this to be a wrist activation. So really finding wrist extension here. You're creating these little wrinkles at the wrist joint, pulling the fingernails towards you, breathing for 3, for 2, and 1. Release, untuck the toes, go ahead and circle out the fists. Maybe clasp the hands and just draw some circles here. And place your left hand down beside you. Inhale, reach your right arm up. And as you exhale, lift up and out of your waist and over to the left. You can bring the forearm down if you want a bit more depth. Keep the sit bones rooted, so you're really creating that length all the way from the hip to the underarm. Good, and then switch. Right hand comes down or forearm, whichever you prefer. Lift up and over. And just finding some nice length here. Still maintaining some spaciousness in your right side body. Beautiful. Return to center. Lean your weight forward and find a couple of cat and cow. So inhale, draw the belly down, lift the crown. And as you exhale, curl through your back body into spinal flexion, rounding the upper back. Inhale for spinal extension, cow. And exhale for flexion. Inhale. And exhale. And return to neutral. Go ahead and step your right foot forward and then sit down onto your left heel. So it's in this combat stance. You're gonna keep your left heel pushing down so it doesn't lift up. Cross your hands over top of the knee and then see if you can lean your weight forward, finding a bit of flexion through the ankle, helping to increase our ankle flexibility and mobility. And trying to keep this knee pushing forward in line with the toes. Despite what you may have heard that you shouldn't bring your knee past your ankle, it's actually really healthy for this joint to tap into its full range. Good, and then just some dynamic forward and back. And then we'll switch. So plant your hands down, send your right knee underneath the hip, step your left foot forward, sit down onto your right heel now. Once again, you're gonna keep this left heel really pushing down into the ground. Interlace your fingers over the left knee and then see if you can lean a bit of weight forward. Just start maybe a couple of dynamic moves. This is really going to help to improve your squats, which are a really foundational movement for humans, really functional movement in our everyday life, but also for sports and lifting. Helping to reduce ankle sprains and injuries. Good, and then come to relax back into your quadruped posture, your tabletop. Interlock your fingers, come down onto your forearms. From here, you can go ahead and hug your right heel towards the glute and then lift the knee up. Try if you can to keep the headlights of your hips pointing forward at all times. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, start to circle this right knee towards the right elbow, into the chest, and then all the way back. Lift the heel as high as you can without arching your low back, without borrowing extension or movement from your low back. And do that a few times, really slowly and controlled. These are so good for the health of your hip joint. And change that direction. Beautiful, and then we'll switch sides. So go ahead and keep the pelvis level, left heel to the glute, lift this hip up and circle it forward and around. moving with breath. It's actually a lot more challenging than it looks to do this with control, so we're not arching the back. Change direction. And release down. Go ahead and tuck your toes under. Plant your palms shoulder distance apart and lift your sit bones up and back for the first downward dog of this practice. Feel free to create any kind of movement that feels good for you, or if you prefer stillness, you can take that too. And finding your breath here in this inverted V shape. Your knees can be straight or bent. A couple breaths here, exploring this inverted V shape. If you like some length across the backs of your legs, you can push your heels down while tilting the sit bones up. If you like a little bit more length through your spine, you might even bend the knees while simultaneously scooping your sit bones up. Beautiful. Let's go ahead. We'll send this right heel to the sky. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, you can step this right foot between your hands and release your back knee down. From here, you can place your hands across the thigh or reach the arms all the way up. Option here, you can have a deep low lunge, so you can step your right foot farther forward and really lean into the hips, or you can keep your hips, the pelvis square, and just find a nice tall waistline. Seeing if you can really grow long through the crown of your head. Slide the shoulder blades down the back as you continuously stretch the fingertips apart from one another and taller. One more deep breath. And as you exhale, bring your hands to the mat. And then let's go ahead and start to lengthen this front leg. So finding some extension through the knee. Try to keep the pelvis neutral. So instead of swaying it to the side, can you keep it facing forward? Option to keep the knee bent here, but focus on scooping the sit bones back. So take an inhale and lengthen. And on your exhale, begin to fold forward over the legs. If you have yoga blocks or books or pillows, you can always prop your hands up a little higher. It's not about how far you go in this posture. It's just about finding that sensation at the edge where you feel like you're getting a stretch, but it's not painful or irritating. And then let's kind of sway back and forth. So you can inhale to lean forward, lengthen the heart. And as you exhale, send your hips back. And do that again. Inhale, lengthen forward. And exhale to send your hips back. And one more time, lean your weight forward. And as you exhale, begin to lift the back knee off of the mat. Inhale to reach the arms all the way up. And as you exhale, I'm coming into some split squats. So we're gonna tap this knee to a hover. Option one, for additional support, you can always bring your hands across the thigh. Or option two, keep the arms lifted. You're gonna glide the pelvis forward. So instead of sinking down, you're reaching the pelvis forward, knee goes past the ankle, and then glide back. And let's do that again. Lean forward and back. So it's like there's this balance of push and pull. Practicing this low body strength, bringing some heat to the legs. And then tap the hands down and step your right foot back to downward facing dog. And take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And do that one more time. Full inhale and full exhale. And send your left heel up towards the sky. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, step your left foot forward between the hands. Release the back knee down. Option to take a really deep lunge or setting up in this kind of 90-90 position with the legs. Inhale to reach the arms overhead. And just explore a few deep breaths here in stillness. Seeing if you can draw the rib cage down towards the belly button while also tilting the sternum plate up. Noticing, see if you can bring your arms into that edge where you're using shoulder flexion, so pulling them back in space without arching the spine. So keep length through your spine and see if you can really send the arms back. It should feel like a little bit of work. Good, and then tap the hands down. Send your left foot back to meet the right. Take a deep breath in and a long exhale. Okay, option to tap your knees down and step your right foot forward between your hands, or inhale the right heel to the sky. And as you exhale, send the right leg forward. Let's go ahead and rise right away to our high lunge. And then finding that split squat stance, so bending that back knee, we're gonna lean the weight forward and see if you can lift this back knee all the way up towards your chest, using your balance and finding some flexion here. Option to stay with this knee bent, or maybe extend it long. And just finding a few deep breaths. You can bring your hands to the hips. Try if you can not to tuck the tailbone or arch the back, keeping the pelvis once again stabilized, using the core, still maintaining that deep breath. Okay, now rebend the knee, and we're gonna do a little bit of mobility here through the hip. So you're gonna keep your knee in line with the hip and then start to pull the ankle up towards the sky. So we're getting external rotation of the femur bone, and try if you can to really push against that edge. So get that ankle lifting up and then back to neutral, and now rotate the opposite direction. So knee stays pointing in line with the hip. You're awkwardly starting to turn this left ankle away from you. We'll do one more. Internal rotation. The arch of your foot is up towards the sky, almost like you could balance a teacup there. And then switch. Internal rotation of the femur. Pull the ankle out. Okay, come back to neutral. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, interlace your fingers over the shin, practicing some balance as we find this wind-relieving posture in standing. Maybe even circle out your ankle joint. Good, and then without your hand, see if you can keep the knee exactly where it is. Awesome work. Start to teeter the heart forward, extend the leg all the way back into your high lunge. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, bring your hands to the mat. Step back to plank posture, or downward dog. Option to release your knees to the earth and step your left foot between your hands, or you can inhale the left heel up towards the sky. And on your exhale, knee to chest, step the foot through in between the hands. We'll rise for our high lunge here. Take an inhale. And on your exhale, come into that split squat stance, so hovering the right knee. We're gonna begin to glide the pelvis forward, transfer the weight to our left foot, and then begin to bring this right knee up towards 90. Or higher, or lower, whichever you prefer. Option to keep the knee bent, or use the strength of the hip flexor, the core, the quad to really lift this right leg. Think about charging down at the same time through your standing left leg. A couple deep breaths here. Okay, begin to rebend the right knee. And then from here, keeping this right knee pointing in line with the hip, you're once again gonna externally, or rather internally, rotate the femur bone. So the foot goes towards the outside edge of your mat. And really keep thinking about rotating it in. And then through neutral, you're gonna find external rotation of the femur. So again, working on trying to get this inner arch of your foot as high towards the sky as you can, imagining the femur bone spiraling outwards. And one more on either side. Internal rotation. This is really important for helping to prevent injuries, especially with sports where you have lots of speed and momentum, where you could land in awkward ways. You're kind of building the resiliency at the joint. Okay, let's start to externally rotate again. Bring the knee all the way up to the chest, interlock your fingers and hug it in. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Circle out the ankle. It's very likely that your standing leg might be a little spicy, feeling a little fiery right now. That's a good thing. Okay, seeing if you can maintain the level that the knee is at without the help of your hands. And then from here, teeter the heart forward, point the toes as you send the toes back in space, crescent lunge as you breathe in. And as you exhale, hands to the mat, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And do that again, deep breath in and out. Let's inhale the right heel to the sky. Hug the heel towards the glute now, so the knee is bent. And then from here, go ahead and stack the hips. And perhaps, if you would like, you can just find three-legged dog with the tail, finding a little bit of low back extension as you push the heel, the left heel down towards the earth and firmly push through the hands. If Wild Thing is a part of your practice, you're welcome to kind of look under your left arm where you want your toes to land, tap it down, and open the chest to the sky. Now, to come out of Wild Thing, look down first. You're gonna go ahead and plant the hand, lift the heel to the sky, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, step the foot through and between the hands. And then step your left foot forward to meet the right. Take an inhale to lengthen. And as you exhale, fold forward. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale to fold. Okay, go ahead and take a deep bend through the knees. And then see if you can just kind of skim the ground with your finger pads. Keep your hips at this height and then start to reach the arms overhead. Finding a nice deep chair posture. And seeing if you can, once again, try to keep the rib cage drawing in, tilt the sternum plate up, and then resist the urge to kind of lower the arms, really pushing against where they feel kind of stuck there. And stay with your breath. Pushing down and out through your feet, getting a little more activation through the legs. Full breath in, mountain pose as you breathe out. And take an inhale here. Roll your shoulders up. And as you exhale, release them down the back. Okay, inhale to reach up. Exhale to fold forward. And step your right foot back about 2/3 of the way down the mat. And then make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Back toes are turned out just slightly. Option to have blocks underneath your hands here on the highest or second height. Or if you feel comfortable, hands to the earth. Try to keep the headlights of your hips pointing down towards the earth as you inhale, lengthen through your crown. And as you exhale, fold forward. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale to lower. If you're someone who trains straight leg strength, you can follow me. If you're someone who hasn't practiced this before, you might want to just hang out here in this stretch. For some straight leg strength activations, you're gonna actually rise up and come about halfway. Hands to the hips. Make sure that you feel stable in this knee joint. As you slowly start to tilt the pelvis back and the heart forward, you'll feel this glute activation and all this activation through the hamstrings, trying to support you as you just actively lift and lower the torso, acting as a bit of load. And then let's all bring our hands to the blocks of the floor and step forward. Take an inhale and lengthen. And as you exhale, bow. Chair pose as you breathe in. Once again, holding here. Sitting the hips nice and low. And take a breath in and exhale to bow forward. This time, let's plant the palms and step back to a high plank posture. And take an inhale here at the top of your push-up. And as you exhale, option to release the knees or come all the way down. And let's inhale, find a baby cobra, slightly lifting the head and chest, tops of the feet push down. And exhale to lower. Inhale, baby cobra. And exhale, lower. One more time. Inhale, baby cobra. And this time, exhale, push back to downward dog. Inhale your left heel to the sky, bend the knee and open the hip. Option to stay or find your Wild Thing. Releasing the left toes back behind you, really propping the hips and the heart open towards the sky. Pushing firmly into that bottom hand. And to come out of the posture, looking down, plant the palm, lift the toes to the sky, deep breath in. And as you exhale, left foot forward, followed by your right. Inhale to lengthen, flat spine stretch. And fold as you exhale. Send the hips down nice and low. And sweep the arms up overhead. We might find a bit of movement for distraction from this time under tension. So take a deep breath. And as you exhale, start to slide the elbows down the back. And again, inhale to reach the arms up. And exhale to squeeze the arms down the back. And once again. And exhale. Inhale to reach up. And exhale. Good. Inhale, rise, reach up overhead. And exhale, hands to the heart. And down by the sides. And take a full inhale, lift the shoulders up. And exhale them down the back. Again, if you're someone who wants to practice a bit of straight leg strength, you can come to rise up, bring your hands to your hips, try to keep the pelvis neutral. You're gonna inhale, grow tall, and as you exhale, bow forward over this front leg, and then see if you can rise up without kind of swaying or swiveling through the hips. Do this a few times. You're gonna bend the back knee and step forward. Lengthen on your in-breath. And fold. Deep bend through your knees. And this time send the arms back alongside the body. And see if you can keep the rib cage in. And once again, see if you can now keep the rib cage in while you try to bring the pinky fingers towards one another, really squeezing without bending the elbows. Keep the elbows locked. Pull the pinky fingers in. And rise. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to the heart. And release. Let's inhale and circle the arms all the way up. Exhale to bow forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. And step back to downward facing dog. Okay, hands, walk them towards the feet. And step your feet a little wider apart. Turn the toes out and sit into your yogic squat. It's always okay if you're kind of on tippy toes, if you're elevated a little bit. We're gonna find some motion here in this squat. So you're gonna tap the knees down, untuck the toes, and sit low. And then you're gonna lean forward, tuck the toes, and see if you can send the weight back. Use your blocks or the hands if you need to. Just practicing some deep hip, knee, and ankle flexion. Practicing getting into the depth of our range of motion in those joints. Don't worry about looking awkward. This is just something we can do every day to really improve our functional movements. Okay, the next time you come into this squat shape, you're going to start to lift, come onto your tippy toes, and rise up halfway. Holding here on your tippy toes, balancing. And then see if you can start to bring your torso towards the thighs on your tippy toes. And stretch the arms so your biceps are in line with your ears, hips stay low. Good, begin to lower the heels and come to sit back down into this yogic squat. You might even like to open the knees, send the arms a little farther forward. Good, and then from here, we're gonna come back into this squat kneeling shape. You're gonna lean forward onto your tippy toes and start to rise halfway. Holding here, plug the shoulders into the sockets, and now stay at the depth with your knees and hips. Fold the torso over the thighs, really stretch forward. Using your breath here. And send the hips down towards the heels. Whew. And then go ahead and walk the hands forward, coming into a high push-up posture. And take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, lower all the way to the earth. Good, inhale. Lengthen the spine, shoulders roll down the back. And as you exhale, lower. Inhale to lift. And exhale, lower. And one more time, lift up. And lower. And tuck your toes. Inhale, plank or table. And as you exhale, downward facing dog. And take a deep breath in. And a long breath out. Okay, Inhale, send the right heel towards the sky. And as you exhale, step it forward between the hands. Let's go ahead and rise up. Inhale, the arms come overhead. And as you exhale, land here for a couple of deep breaths. Okay, bring your hands to your hips and then go ahead and rotate towards the long edge of your mat. We're gonna do a little bit more hamstring strength. And also, while we strengthen them, we're actually making them more flexible. We're doing active stretching. So the upper body weight is gonna act as load. So starting with your toes pointing forward, you can bring your hands to your hips, scoop your sit bones back in a hinge motion. So take an inhale and lengthen. And as you exhale, try to start to lower slowly. And then lift up, using the hamstring muscles. Good. Lower slowly. And lift up. One more like that. Lower slowly, but pause. Option to make this a little more challenging, arms can come out to a T, or you can send them forward in line with your biceps. Now really feeling that load through the backs of your legs. Good, and then rise up. Let's go ahead and turn the right toes towards the front edge of your mat. Arms to a T, take an inhale. And as you exhale, lean the hips back as you stretch the heart forward for triangle pose. So here's another one where you can either just lean into this hamstring stretch and really enjoy it with a block or your hand, or again, if you want to do that active stretch, you might actually hover the hand. You can have it reaching forward. Almost this sensation of gathering up towards the hip. Good, and then rise back up. Let's take an inhale, reach both arms up, rotate the right toes, and then the left toes now point towards the back of the mat for triangle on the opposite side. So tilt your pelvis, reach forward, take a deep breath in, and then exhale, Trikonasana posture. So finding your variation, you might enjoy this really chill, calm stretch here in triangle, or you might again enjoy that active variation. Reaching the right arm forward, or maybe just overhead with this hand hovering, using the strength of the core, and this gathering through that front leg. And then rise back up. We got one more here. So this time turn your toes out and tilt the pelvis back, lean forward and back up. And just kind of targeting different muscles in the hamstrings, different angles. And then turn them in. So heels are out, toes in, heels out, lengthen, and exhale, fold. Lengthen and fold. Beautiful. Okay, turn to face the front edge of your mat. Plant the palms down and send the right leg all the way up to the sky. And back into your downward facing dog. Okay, take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And one more time, full inhale and a long exhale. Okay, we've got one more lunge sequence. Inhale to reach the leg up, right leg. And as you exhale, step it through and between the hands. Let's go ahead and rise. Take an inhale. As you exhale, let's go ahead and turn the toes to face the long edge of the mat once more. This time, hands can be clasped or you can use no hands. Take a deep bend into this right knee. Option to stay hovering or maybe come into Skandasana, this really nice and low squat. I'm kind of in an awkward shape here, so I'm just gonna readjust. And you can have your hands here or on the floor to help you. And you're gonna see if you can use this pull of the left hamstring as you push through the right leg to come to the opposite side. Hanging out here for just a couple of deep breaths. We got this gorgeous sunset here in the background. I hope you're getting a nice view of it for your practice. Good, and then just really to strengthen the hips and also improve their mobility here, we're gonna see if we can go side to side. So the goal is to keep the weight of your body over your hips and not lean forward. Use the hands if you need them. See how low you can go, just switching side to side. Again, it's this pull of the hamstring of the straight leg and this push of the quad in the standing leg. One more on either side. Good, and then come to face forward, plant the palm, step back to downward facing dog. Okay, let's make a nice little cool down here. You can inhale your left leg to the sky, breathe in. And as you exhale, left knee to the back of your left wrist for pigeon, send your right leg down behind you. Now you have two options here. I always like to make it your own adventure. So you can take a relaxed stretcher, hands or lower onto the forearms. Or if you want an active pigeon to start, you're welcome to kind of level the pelvis, starting with your finger pads or lifting a couple off. You might lift and lower the torso. So it's this pushing firmly through the calf and the thigh and the ankle to support you as you lift and lower the upper body. If you want to add some shoulder work in, you can do internal and external rotation as you go. So I might internally rotate to lower and externally rotate as I rise. Good, plant the palms down and then step back to downward dog. And we'll find the other side. Inhale the right heel to the sky. And as you exhale, step the leg forward for pigeon. Option to find active or a passive pigeon. So a passive static stretch, you're just lowering and hanging out. If you want an active stretch here, you might have the hands at the hips or on the floor, lifting and lowering, firmly pushing through the bottom leg. And again, you can always add the arms. Beautiful. So to come out of this posture, you can lean to your right hip and then swing this left leg around forward. And we'll come to find a comfortable seated posture with our legs crossed. You might find a couple of rounds of cat and cow, bringing your awareness to the tilt of the pelvis and how the rest of the spine also moves. Maybe you can even slow that down and now see if you can isolate different areas. So starting with the neck, coming all the way into extension and flexion. And just going forward and back. And side to side. Couple of times. And then see if you can keep the movement of the neck and the lumbar, your low spine, quiet, and focus on just the thoracic area, like the sternum plate. Imagining it going forward and back between the window of your arms, kind of just floating level in space. And notice if you have this tendency to move the shoulder blades, see if you can even keep the shoulder blades quiet. It's kind of an awkward, really subtle movement. And then quiet the neck and the thoracic, and we'll work into the lumbar. So just these gentle sways forward and back of the lumbar spine. Okay, go ahead and take your left hand behind you. Inhale the right arm up. And as you exhale, hand to the knee and twist. Come back to center. We'll switch left hand to the knee, right hand behind you, twist. Beautiful. Go ahead and bring the soles of the feet to connect for cobbler's pose. Option to stay seated nice and tall, or you can just passively fold for a nice static, passive stretch through the hips. Adding some external rotation of the femur bones. This really nice stretch through the hips and the groin. And then rising up, you can go ahead and bring your feet a little bit wider than hip distance, and you can just sway from side to side, finding some internal and external rotation of the hips. And then come down onto your back. Just getting set up nice and comfy here. Option to have your knees tented, falling in towards one another, feet a little wider apart, or you can even extend your legs long for your final Shavasana. Arms can be by your sides or on your belly, just noticing the natural rhythm and cycles of your breath. Feel free to take a couple of audible sighs. It actually communicates to the nervous system to just sort of calm down and to drop into the rest and digest portion of your nervous system, the parasympathetic. When you notice your mind wanders, no need to worry. It's part of the process. It's not about stopping all thought. It's simply about noticing when the mind wanders off and bringing the attention back. Just noticing sensation within and around you. Listening. Not just with your ears, but with every cell of your body, with your full awareness. If your mind wanders, once again, releasing all judgment towards yourself. This is just time for you to relax. It's time for you to slow down. And you don't have to do it perfectly. And thank you so much for taking this time out of your day to take care of yourself, to move your body, to breathe, and to be present, even if it was just for a couple of seconds of class. Consistency is the most important part of your practice. As long as you showed up here today for yourself, that's what's important. From my heart to yours, have a wonderful eat. That's what's important.